Hello, learners. This is Alakh Niranjan Singh, Professor of Economics for GATE. So, today I am going to solve the questions of economics from question number 27 to 44. So, this is a 1 point question and it has multiple choice options as answers. So, I start this video with reading the question number 27. The question is, suppose that a firm has a technology represented by following production function: y function of kl is equal to k to the power x l to the power y, where k denotes capital, L denotes labor, Y denotes the maximum output that is possible to produce using capital K and labor L. X and Y are two positive real numbers. It is also known that the production function satisfies constant returns to scale. Then which of the following is true? So here the key is the production function satisfies constant returns to scale. So in this case, the exponents x and y, their sum equals to 1. So a is x plus y is equal to 0.5. This one is less than 1. 0.5 is less than 1. So it is decreasing returns to scale, and when output is doubled, when the inputs are doubled, means k and l are doubled, the output would increase by only 0.5y. When x plus y is equal to 1, this is constant returns to scale, and when inputs are doubled, output will also be doubled, or output will increase by y. So this is the correct answer, and I am explaining part C and D as well so that you learn more. And C is x plus y is equal to 1.5. So 1.5 is greater than 1. This shows increasing returns to scale, and hence when k and l are doubled, then output will increase by 1.5 times, means total output will become 2.5 times. And then D says x plus y is equal to 2. So this one is even more increasing returns to scale than the answer to C. So in this case, if k and l are doubled, the output will double. So if we started with output y, then plus 2y becomes 3y only when the k and l are doubled. So the correct answer is B. Now next question number 28. The Human Development Index, as recorded by United Nations Development Program, is based on 3 components. 2 of these components are per capita income and a measure of educational attainment of society. The third component is, so this development index was developed by our Nobel laureate economics Amartya Sen and an economist from Pakistan, so Mabul ul Haq. So this talks us that the human development index, okay, it is about the per capita income, means people have enough money to eat well, and a measure of educational attainment of society, means society is well educated. If the society is not educated, it doesn't become development. And the third one is when people are happy, means well educated and having good income, they should obviously live longer and happy life. They should lead a longer and happy life. So that gives us the life expectancy at birth. So the first one is a Gini coefficient. No, this is not the third component. It talks about income inequality. Then percentage of population who have access to safe drinking water. This is not a development index, and so it is not the correct answer. And percentage of population who work in non-agriculture sector. This is a development index, but for the country as a whole, and it measures not the human beings but about the country as a whole. So this is not the third one. And the fourth one, D option, is life expectancy at birth. So this is the correct answer. And this was done, as I said, by Mahbul ul Haq and Amartya Sen. Then we go to the next question, question number 29, and it is, suppose we estimate the following regression equation: ln xt is equal to alpha 0 plus alpha 1 ln yt plus epsilon t. Here alpha 0, alpha 1 are greater than 0 and they indicate the slope coefficient. This alpha 1 indicates the slope coefficient, while alpha 0 is the intercept. So here this is a log function, because ln xt, it is not just xt, it is ln xt. So this is the log of xt, natural log of xt, and the independent variable is ln yt. So yt is also in log terms, so hence this function is called log function. So this kind of function shows elasticity or percentage changes. So the question is, where x and y are some variables, alpha 0 and alpha 1 are the intercept and the slope respectively, epsilon t is the residual term, what is the interpretation of coefficient alpha 1? So I already said that this is a log function, and any log function tells about percentage increase in dependent variable, which is xt, when independent variable yt changes by 1%. So that meets the definition of A. What about option B? A 1% increase in yt causes A1 times 0.01 unit increase. So it is unit, not percentage. Hence this is the wrong answer. C is 1 unit increase in yt causes a 100 times a 1% increase in xt. Since it is already percent, no need to multiply by 100, that will augment it 100 times. And a 1 unit increase in yt causes a 1 unit increase in xt. This is also not correct, because both are log functions. So had they been linear functions, no log values, then D would have been the correct answer. But since these are log values, so A is the correct answer. Now I go to next question, and that question reads, consider the following system of equations in 3 variables, x, y and z. So minus x minus y minus z is equal to 3, x plus y plus z is equal to 10, and 2x minus 3y is equal to 6. This system of equation has, remember, this is a question of only 1 point, so it shouldn't be very long. You don't need to solve all the 3 equations. You just need to check if they are solvable or not. So this first 2 equations, minus x minus y minus z is equal to 3, and x plus y plus z is equal to 10. So one is having all the negative signs before x, y and z, and the other one is having all the positive signs. So if we multiply them, if we add them, then we find that on the left side, this x minus x minus, if we add them, so when we add both these equations, left side we get 0, and on the right side we get 13. Since 0 is not equal to 13, hence this equation cannot be solved. So let's see the options. Option A is no combination of values of x, y and z that satisfy the system simultaneously, means this equation cannot be solved. So this is the correct answer. But let's read the other ones. Only one combination of values x, y, z that satisfy this system simultaneously. Well, this is not the one combination, because it is not solvable. Then C is only 2 combination. This is also having the same weakness like option B. And then Option D is infinitely many combinations. Yes, it could have been infinitely many combinations, but had it been both sides 0 means, but it is not so. So hence D is also not the correct answer. Now I go to the next question, and that reads, which of the following models appropriately explains the fluctuations in potential output and long run aggregate supply by understanding the shocks to productivity or the willingness of the workers? What does it mean? Shocks to productivity means it can be positive or negative. Means if it is positive shocks, productivity will increase. If it is negative shocks, productivity will decrease. This means there will be, when productivity increases, there will be boom, and when productivity decreases, there will be recession. And the second factor is the willingness of the workers. Means if the workers are willing to work hard and for 8 hours or more than 8 hours, means they are working overtime, then GDP will increase, and that will be boom to the economy. And if the workers want to stay at home, either because wages are not enough, or the workers are not healthy, or the workers just want to enjoy life, so in that case GDP would be lower, and that will cause recession. So these two factors, shocks to productivity and willingness of the workers, brings fluctuations in the potential output or potential GDP, and that is explained by real business cycle. It doesn't talk about ISLM or government policies. It talks about that only the workers' willingness and the technological shocks, which is shocks to productivity, cause business cycles. So this theory is the essence of real business cycle. Hence B is the correct answer. What about A, solo growth model? Well, it is a growth model and doesn't depend on fluctuations, because growth happens uniformly or somewhat positively every year. So that is called growth. If there is negative growth, then that is recession, that is not growth. Then C is ISLM model. This model talks about stabilization of the economy through government policies and monetary policies. LM is the domain of monetary policy, and IS is the domain of government policy. So this also doesn't talk about why business cycles happen. It talks about that if business cycles have happened, how the IS and LM curves can bring the economy back to stability. And then the third is Harrod-Domer growth model, or Harrod-Domer model is a growth model like solo growth model. Hence, it is also not related to business cycles, because business cycles don't talk about growth. They talk about fluctuations in the potential GDP or potential output. So for this question number 31, B is the correct answer. Now question number 32. The change in equilibrium output for an equal amount of change in government expenditure and tax revenue is linked to which one of the following multipliers? So here the keyword is equal amount. Okay, this one. Equal amount of this is the keyword here. Equal amount of change in government expenditure G and tax revenue. So whenever there is equal increase in taxes and equal increase in government expenditure, it becomes a balanced budget balanced budget. Hence the answer is balanced budget multiplier. What about A, expenditure multiplier? That would have worked only when there would have been a change in government expenditure and no change in tax revenue. What about lump sum tax multiplier? Well, only a lump sum tax, no change in government expenditure. And trade multiplier, that happens from foreign trade, and there is no foreign trade here. Hence, the correct answer is balanced budget multiplier. Next question is, Solaris is a firm that can install solar panels at an airport to generate electricity for the airport's usage. The company claims that in 70% of all airports where its solar panels are installed, an airport's electricity bill is reduced by at least 40%. Okay, means that this firm reduces electricity cost with 70% probability. Now, the probability that an airport's electricity bill is reduced by at least 40%, which is the claim of this company, in 7 out of 10 airports where the company's solar panels are installed, equals approximately. Okay, so this is a very difficult question, and actually not a probability question, but it is a probability distribution question. So I am reading it again, means the important parts. The company claims that in 70% of all airports where its solar panels are installed, an airport electricity bill is reduced by at least 40%. So 70% of the time its system reduces electricity bill by 40%. Now the question is, the probability that an airport's electricity bill is reduced by at least 40% in 7 out of 10 airports. So it has installed electricity in 10 airports, and what is the probability that only in 7, not in 8, not in 6, not in 9, not in 10, or not in 5, but exactly in 7 airports the company's solar panels have reduced electricity bill by at least 40%. So that's why it becomes the binomial distribution. And what is the formula for binomial distribution? Here you see that it claims that 70% of all airports reduce electricity, hence P becomes 0.7. 70% means 0.7. And Q is 0.3, means probability means 40% won't be reduced. It may get reduced by only 30% or 20%, whatever, but not 40%, not at least 40%. So Q is 0.3, and the distribution formula of binomial distribution is n choose x times p to the power x times q to the power n minus x. That you might be knowing, this binomial distribution formula. Means these 7 airports can be chosen in 10 choose 7 ways, and choose is combination. So this becomes 10 combination 7 times 0.7 to the power 0.7 and 0.3 to the power 3, because it is asking 7 airports. Success is 7 airports. So that's why 0.7 to the power 7, and this becomes 0.2668. So closest to this value is 0.267. Well, actually it is the rounded value of 0.2668. So hence D is the correct answer. What about A? Well, A is just to fool you, because if you forget to multiply this by 10 choose C and then by 0.3 times 3, you will get 0.082. So that is there to confuse you. 0.002 is not possible, and 0.49 is again to confuse you. It will say that 70% of all airports reduce electricity, and then 7 out of 10. So many people will multiply 7 times 7, and they will make a rough guess of 0.49. So don't do that in GATE exams. Some options are there only to fool you or to trap you, I would say, and then to make you error. And that's why they distinguish this percentile. Now next question is, India Smart is a retail shop that accepts either a RuPay credit card or a Visa credit card. 31% of India Smart's customers carry a Rupee credit card. So that's what I made here in Venn diagram, 31% with a blue one. And 44% of its customers carry a Visa credit card. So Visa credit card is this another circle, 44%. And while 18% of its customers carry a Rupee credit card as well as Visa credit card. So this intersection of Rupee and Visa is 18%, that is both carry. And then it asks, what is the probability that a customer carries at least one of the two cards, either a Rupee or a Visa credit card? So the answer is that if it carries Rupee, that becomes 31, and if it carries Visa, that becomes 44. So 31.44 becomes 75.75%. But again, this 18%, which is carried by both, it has been counted twice. Means when we are counting Rupee, then also we are counting this 18%, and when it is this Visa, then also we are counting this 18%. So this 18% is being counted twice. So that's why I deducted it once and it became 0.57. Means 57% of the people carry at least one of the two cards. The other method is, what if how many people have only Rupee? So that becomes 0.31 minus 0.18 is equal to 0.13, or 13% people carry only Rupee. Then how many percent of people, what percentage of people carry only Visa? So we calculate 44 minus 0.18 is 26%. So 26% people carry only Visa, 13% people carry only Rupee, and 18% of the people carry both. So that way, at least one of the two cards becomes the sum of these three. 0.13 plus 0.18 plus 0.26 is equal to 0.57%. So that, I hope you got it clear. If you didn't, you can post your question below in the comment section, and I will promise I will answer your question. Next question is, what is the user cost of capital for a firm when the rate of depreciation of machine is 20% and the cost of financial capital is 15%? So this is very simple question, because the cost of financial capital is 15% when you borrow 100 and you pay 15 on that, so that is your cost. But you used that 100 rupees for buying some machine, and that machine depreciated by 20% in 1 year. It means its value is now only 80. So you paid 15 as interest and 20 is the depreciation. Hence total on the 100 initial 100 amount you are spending or you are losing 35. So that is the answer. 35% is the answer. The other 50%, no way, it doesn't make sense. 37% can be because it is close to 35%, but it doesn't calculate anyway. 31%, well, it can happen when we take this 85, means we deduct this 85 and then again take 20% of that, then it may happen, but all these are wrong options just to confuse you, or at least they have to complete the 4 numbers, and that's why they give these numbers. So next question is, which among the following Gini coefficient exhibits the highest quality? So Gini coefficient talks about income inequality, and higher the value of Gini coefficient, higher is the income inequality, and lower the value of Gini coefficient, that will give lower equality. So this Gini coefficient amongst all has lowest value. This one is only 0.1. It means the economy has far less income inequality, or it has highest income equality when compared with BCD. Otherwise, when all people will have equal income, then this Gini coefficient will be 0. And when only one person takes all the income and rest of the people get nothing, then this Gini coefficient will become 1. So most of the time the Gini coefficient is between 0.1 and zero point 0.6. In the case of India, this is about 0.4, around 0.4. Under Modi government, this income inequality has increased little bit because Adani and Mukesh Ambani have become far richer than most of us. So Gini coefficient tells us about income inequality. The next question is, let function of xy be a continuously differentiable homogeneous production of degree 4. Which of the following is necessarily true? Oh, this is the same question that we had earlier, and let me go. It is the same Cobb-Douglas production function. This one. I think it was first or second question, no? Yeah, this question, it was this question number, this one, yeah, this question, it was this exactly this question actually. So where I had production function of k, y function of kl, k to the power x, l to the power y, and here I had told you that sum of x plus y gives how many times output will increase. So like here, such as if x plus y was 2, the output has doubled by increasing only 100% of this inputs. Output had become 4 times. So if this sum x plus y is 4 here in this case, this is the, here it is saying this question. Here it is saying that the function of xy be continuously differentiable. This is homogeneous function of degree 4. Means degree 4 means x plus y. The sum of x plus y is equal to 4. So which of the following is necessarily true? Means x times df dx plus y times fx dy. So this talks about that differential means the function is increased, and when x is increased with respect to x. So whenever it is of degree 4 means output should increase by 4 times, and that is here it is x times df xy dx plus y times df dx xy dy is equal to 4 times function of xy. So this output is increasing by 4 times because it is of degree 4. So this becomes the correct answer. The other ones don't match this, hence they are not the correct answer. For this A, the degree should be 1. For B, the degree should be 2. And for D, the degree, it is this should be 8. So I hope you have learned this part as well. Next question is, which of the following committees was set up to address issues related to capital account convertibility in India? So this is capital account convertibility. It is related to balance of payments and not capital, and balance of payments is related to foreign. Balance of payment means deficit and surplus. So we have this question related to RBI job, because RBI does this kind of job that it looks after balance of payments, and so this should be the case of someone who is working in RBI. And here this Tandon committee was not the person employed in RBI. He was chairman of PNB, so he is not the correct person. Then Abid Hussain was an IAS officer and he had never worked in RBI, so he is also not the correct answer. He had worked in planning commission. And Tarapur, yeah, Mr. Tarapur had started as, I think, grade A or grade B officer of RBI and became deputy governor of RBI. So this committee was formed in 1997 to study the capital account convertibility of rupee. Capital account convertibility means whenever the foreign investment takes place, they can always take it back. Means the currency should be fully convertible. And that is what Tarapur committee had studied. However, he didn't recommend its full convertibility at that time, at least in 1997. Even today, rupee is not fully convertible on capital account. And then D is Percy Mystery Committee. So Percy Mystery it was done by P. Chidambaram, who was the finance minister under Manmohan Singh government, and he is still alive and in London. He is an engineer from UK, bachelor's in engineering like you all, and MBA finance. So he runs his consultancy, and his aim was to study or to make if Mumbai could be international financial center after New York and London. But now the government has changed, and Modi government is not interested in taking his recommendation seriously. So that's fine. So the answer to question 38 is C. It was Tarapur committee who had studied this capital account convertibility in India. Next question is related to demand and supply, and it says the demand curve for T in Borduria is given by dP or Q is equal to 40 minus 2P, and the domestic supply function is given by SP is equal to 2 by 3P. Means if P increases, supply increases, quantity supply increases by how much? 2 by 3 units. When P increases by 1 unit, means from 5 to 6, the output would increase by from say 4 to 4 and 2 by 3. So here dP denotes quantity demanded, and Tea is traded in a competitive world market and imported into Borduria at a price of 9 per unit. So it is competitive world market, means the demand curve is or the price is constant. So price is constant means the price is a horizontal straight line like this at 9. So that's what I drew this curve at 9. Price is constant at 9 when there are imports. So initially there was no restriction on trade. However, as a result of lobbying by the domestic suppliers, the Bordurian government imposed a tariff of 3 per unit on each unit imported. As a result of the tariff, import of tea decreased by how many units? So let's first study what was the import of trade before this imposition of tariffs. So the supply curve is 2p by 3, and so that is what I drew the graph. It started with 0 because when p is 0, the quantity supplied is 0, and so it increased like this. And so if it is the slope is 2 by 3p, okay, and then so at 6 when the p is 9, and this q will be 2 times 9 by 3, which is 6. So I wrote here 6, this part 6 I wrote here because q is 9 initially. And now what is the import then? Demand. So demand has the equation P is equal to when P is equal to 9, supply is 6, and D is equal to 40 minus 2 times 9, 2P. So that becomes 22. So 22 is the demand and 6 is the supply when price is 9. So the import quantity is 16 because 22 minus 6. 6 is domestically produced and 16 item is imported. Now after lobbying, what happens? The price is raised to 12 because 3 is the tariff. Now when 3 is the tariff and price is 12, again what will be the supply? Supply becomes 8 because supply is 2 by 3p or 2p by 3. So 12 times 2, 24. 24 divided by 3 is 8. So I wrote 8 here as the domestic supply. And what happens to demand? Again, demand is 40 minus 2 times 12, which is equal to 16. Means 40 minus 24 is 16. So this is the point 16, that is the total market demand, and domestic output is 6. So 8 is the import. So that way earlier the import was 16 and after tariff the import has become 8. So the reduction in import has been 8. 16 minus 8 is equal to 8. So that is what this question asks. As a result of tariff, import of tea decreased by how many units? So the answer is 8 units. Now I go to the next question, and it says Bretton Woods Agreement. Bretton Woods is in United States, and it was a good meeting place at that time. It has good office, good building, but now it is considered quite a lower standard. So Bretton Woods Agreement gave birth to the following organization. This agreement had happened after Second World War in 1945 when this UNO was founded. So at that time of UNO, only GATT was one of the institutions that was born, and GATT means General Agreements on Trade and Tariffs. So the countries had agreed that they will not they will not impose import duties a lot on their neighbors, so that there is free trade, or at least close to free trade, if not perfectly free trade. So it had happened in 1945 and it was born at that time. So A is the correct answer. What about B? RBI. Well, RBI cannot be formed in United States. It is an Indian organization, so it will be created within Indian territory, and it was created. RBI was created by RBI Act of 1934. So RBI came into existence after passing of this act in 1934, and in 1935 RBI had started functioning. NAFTA means North American Free Trade Agreement. So North American Free Trade Agreement was enacted in 1994 between USA, Canada and Mexico for free trade, and it was as a response to European Union, which was formed in 1992. So NAFTA is not the correct answer, and ASEAN is again Asian country. So this won't happen in Bretton Woods, which is a place in the United States. It would happen in some Asian countries, and ASEAN was formed in 1967 in one of the 11 Asian countries. That includes Thailand, Vietnam, and those smaller countries who are in the China Sea or Southeast Asian nations. So ASEAN is not the correct answer either. So you could have guessed it, that Bretton Woods in the USA, as the name suggests, or it could be in UK. These are the only two places where Bretton Woods can happen. And then RBI cannot happen in UK or this USA. NAFTA is not there. NAFTA is a US organization, but it was the most recent, and ASEAN cannot happen. So B and D could have been straight away discarded. Then you had a 50% chance of getting the correct answer, and that was GATT and NAFTA, but GATT is the correct answer because NAFTA is most recent. And what is when NAFTA came, this GATT was replaced by WTO, World Trade Organization. So there is no GATT now, but its name is now WTO, and its office is in Geneva. Next question is, which one of the following is a test of heteroscedasticity? So this is an econometrics question, and heteroscedasticity talks about that the variance of dependent variable changes when it increases in size. So the variance is not constant. If it is constant, then it becomes homoscedasticity, and the test for that is White test. So another test is Bruce-Pagan test. So White test, Bruce-Pagan test, these are the two tests which test this heteroscedasticity. Otherwise, this Jarqui-Bera test, well, it is not for heteroscedasticity, but it tests for normality conditions, whether the distribution is normal or not. And Bruce-Godfrey test, yeah, here it could have been a problematic, because this Bruce was there for testing heteroscedasticity, but he developed that test with Pagan, not with Godfrey. So Bruce-Godfrey test talks about autocorrelation test, and Lejeune box test also talks about autocorrelation test. So only White test is the correct answer that talks about heteroscedasticity. The next question is the law that explains the relationship between income growth and the size of government expenditure is appropriately linked to. So this law is, we have the first answer, Wagner's law, and it was the Wagner who came with the empirical evidence that as the GDP increases, the government expenditure increases faster than the GDP. So the size of government increases as the country becomes richer, because the government provides more services, it more regulations, and you can say more interference in the economy. So that is the correct answer. The Okun's law. Okun's law talks about GDP and unemployment, means how much would GDP fall when unemployment increases by 1% or so, and his answer was 2%. So sometimes 2%, if the fall, it is 2%, but if it rises, then it rises by 3%. That is what Okun's finding was. It was empirical finding. And Walras law. Walras law talks about equilibrium in n markets. So it says that if there are n markets, and if there is equilibrium in n minus 1 markets, then there must be equilibrium in the nth market. So this question can also be another gate question, that what is Walras law. All four can be another question. And then Ricardian equivalence. Ricardian equivalence tells that if the government spends by borrowing or debt financing, government expending does not change demand or stimulates the economy. Why? Because people are very smart, and they say that if the government is borrowing today, it will have to repay back to the people tomorrow. So the people are not going to increase their expenditure, because the government will tax them in the future. So the government can finance its debt in future by taxing the people in future, and that's why this Ricardian equivalence says that output cannot increase when it is financed by borrowing. Next question is, as per recent economic survey, means you need to keep reading the news, how many states and union territories are driven by services sector in India? So since services sector consists about 54% of GDP, and it is a factual question, it doesn't have any analysis, so the answer is 15. And what about 19, 25 and 21? So 19 is just another choice, 25 is another choice, but 21 can be confusing for some people, because there are 36 total of states and union territories, means 28 states and 8 union territories. So since 15 were driven by services sector, these 21 were driven by agriculture and industries sector. So 21 could have been confusing, but had the question been if it is non-service sector, then D would have been the answer. Else A is the correct answer. The next question is, again same Cobb-Douglas production function. An economy is characterized by the following production function. y is equal to a times k to the power 0.25 L to the power 0.75. It means this 0.25 and 0.75 is again 1. The sum of these is again 1. Okay, but maybe the question will be different. So when the sum is 1 means there are constant returns to a scale, or at least the GDP is shared, capital gets 25% of the output and labor gets 75% of the output. So let's see what happens. What is the question? So it says all capital and labor are fully employed. Suppose that the growth rate of labor is 1%. So here is the trick. Means the growth rate of labor is 1% and the growth rate of capital is 4% and the growth rate of output is 4%. So output is growing means y becomes 1.04. The growth rate of total factor productivity A is the technological innovation that comes from factor productivity. So this, what is the contribution of this? So that happens like this. Since K is increasing by 4%, growth rate of capital is 4% and its contribution is 0.25, means marginal product of K is just 0.25. So K will contribute 0.25 times 4% is equal to 1%. And what about labor? L is growing by 1% and its productivity is 0.75. It means labor will contribute by 0.75 times 1% is equal to 0.75%. So 0.75%. So thus the total contribution of capital and labor is 1% plus 0.75% is equal to 1.75%. But output has gone up by 4%. Hence, the remaining 2.25%, which is 4 minus 1.75% is contribution of A. So this is the way how growth accounting is done, and that concludes our answer to this part. Then we have the second part, which I will explain in a different video. So if you felt you learned something, thank you very much for that, and please subscribe my channel. So see you in next video.